2.
What is going on, Breakthrough Success listeners? Marc Guberti here with another episode today. And when it comes to achieving your personal goals and advancing in your career, affirmations are going to set you on the right path. When we make affirmations, we get clarity of where we want to go and some of the steps we can take to reach our goals. There's a lot of magic when it comes to affirmation power, and we are going to talk about that magic in this episode. Our guest who joins us today, she is a former rock singer in Australia who created positive affirmation songs just briefly after a near fatal car accident. Now, these songs, they were meant to heal her body and help her during this transition, but they also took her to worldwide success as millions of people have downloaded her affirmation power songs and have benefited from the music. And she has gone on to do a lot of seminars and release a lot of products to help people with their affirmations. Her mystical success events have been held in over 26 countries. She helps people tap into the magic of affirmation power. And she is none other than Michele Blood. Michele, welcome to the show.
Marc, you rock. I'm really, really happy to be here. The enthusiasm is absolutely beautiful.
Michele, it is such a pleasure to have you on Breakthrough Success. And affirmations are one of those things where once you start doing them and you see benefits, you absolutely never want to stop. You want to keep on going. I'm wondering if you could share with us when you first saw the power of affirmations in your life and how you got hooked onto the concept.
I hooked onto it. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, let's look at originally, they had the movie out called The Secret in the book, and then everyone started talking about manifestation and the law of attraction. But it was the Buddha who 2,500 years ago said, we are what we think. Everything we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make our world. And that is true. People don't understand how powerful it is. What you're thinking about creates your world. And if you put enough energy into the right sort of thinking, well, then magic absolutely does happen. I've seen magic, miraculous things happen to people all over the world. And the way it started for me was, as you said in your introduction, after a near fatal car accident, I was in the hospital with many broken bones, and the longest operation was 17 and a half hours. And I hadn't actually heard of affirmations or motivational speakers or any of that, because I'd been professionally singing since I was 5. So I was living the life of my dreams, tough though it is, touring around Australia, managing your own band, singing it, writing it, getting the record contracts. Extremely challenging, but worth it when you're doing what you love to do, singing every night. So people were beginning to bring me different things to listen to because I couldn't move and I couldn't breathe, and in that hospital bed for all those months. And so I don't want to make the story too long, but just briefly to say what happened was I was listening to an audio tape of the book by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, that had nothing to do with me. I didn't care about any of the other chapters, but I couldn't turn it off because I couldn't move. Someone turned it on, the bugger. Anyway, it turned out to be the best thing ever, because the only chapter I cared about was Napoleon Hill speaking about his son. He did auto-suggestion affirmations to his little son, who was born 100% deaf. And he was going sneak into his little infant son's room and saying, you can hear perfectly. You are strong. You are, all these wonderful affirmations. He did it for years. The little boy ended up getting 30% of his hearing back, which the doctor said was impossible. And he ended up becoming extremely successful in the hearing aid industry. So that's when I thought, I just knew it. There was something within the core of my being that knew affirmations will work. And that is when I decided to create my own affirmations to heal my body.
I am a big fan of that auto-suggestion. I mean, the words that we hear from others about ourselves, that impacts how we think about ourselves. Like parents listening to this episode, like the words you say to your kids truly matter. Make sure you're saying the right things and spreading the right messages. because part of all the thoughts that come into us, they influence our thoughts. And then, as Michele mentions, we got the Buddha quote where our thoughts shape our lives. I'm definitely paraphrasing that, but we have this idea of the thoughts being so important to achieving success. A lot of people, they have some negative thoughts floating around that can hurt their ability to think of affirmations. Like when you think of affirmations, it's I can, or I am, or something to that effect. But people may not necessarily feel that energy in the beginning because of some negative thoughts. Maybe they've had like a rough patch. Michele, I know for you, like if you're in like a near fatal accident and you're recovering from that, after like before that, you are living your dream life. How did you get the negative stuff out of your head so you could do affirmations that shine a better future for yourself?
Well, what happened was I was doing the affirmations over and over again, but I had specialists, doctors coming in and saying, you know, this is, you know, if you do survive the next operation, which was 17 and a half hours, because there was so much smashed bone. I mean, I'm like the bionic woman. And I appreciate what the doctors did and love them. I'm grateful that they were so good at what they can do. But I was in such a depressed state because I thought, if I can't be on stage doing all my wild antics as a rock singer and performer, which I was very good at, what am I going to do with my life? I could still sing. People saying you can still sing. But my doubting mind that you just mentioned kept saying that is not the truth. Because I would say, I am healed. I know I am. I love myself. I am my friend. That was the perfect affirmation. You've got to say it about yourself. You've got to say what you do want that you don't have now, as if you've already got it. And the secret that they said was you've got to emotionalize it. But I could not get it beyond my doubting mind because I believed everything everyone else was saying. So I stopped doing it for a couple of weeks. And then, yay, Marc, then the miracle happened. I'm a singer-songwriter. You cannot get a song out of your head or a jingle. That's why kids learn their ABCs through singing. It goes, the left brain are the lyrics, in my case, affirmations, and the right brain is the music and the melody. And so you have a whole brain experience. You do not have to emotionalize it. It goes beyond the doubting mind, straight into the subconscious mind. So I started singing. I am healed, I know I am. I love myself, I am my friend. So to begin with, I just did it onto a little recording over and over again. To make a long story short, I had miraculous healing. Promoters and TV people started interviewing me to find out about this miraculous healing. In the interim, I was going into the studio with my band and recording so many affirmations. I'm a magnet to money, success, persistence, I'm a miracle, I am healed, all professionally with us doing, you know, what we do in the studio. I was writing all these affirmation songs, not to sell to the public, but for our own consciousness. Because I said, guys, this, because they're all guys in my band, I said, this is going to change your consciousness and we will have much more success and we'll get that gig in England or Europe or America. But then what happened was promoters that were hiring people to come to Australia, like 𝗙𝗢𝗥𝗡, Wayne Dyer, Bob Proctor, they started hiring me to sing my affirmation songs and talk about my healing in between these male speakers. And the audience loved it so much that they all said to me, we want to work with you all over the world. Bob Proctor, I ended up doing tons of new products with him, traveling all over the world with him and his wife, doing these amazing events. 𝗙𝗢𝗥𝗡 talked me into creating one just for kids, which I've done, which is called Self-Esteem Songs for Kids. I've got it here somewhere. I can do it, Self-Esteem Songs for Kids. So I've got all these different albums that cover success, healing, motivation, just for fun, just to get yourself motivated. Some people cannot get themselves motivated. With a song, you just listen. You do not have to sing along. Bob Proctor does sometimes on my recordings, which absolutely crack people up. And he just did it to make them laugh. Ooh, he cannot sing. But everyone can sing. But I'm sure he just did it in a really bad way, just so that people would laugh and it would lighten them up.
And I think when it comes to singing, like The fact that, I mean, the fact that anyone's willing to go out there and sing is really impressive. And I mean, it's definitely an art form. And I love how Michele took her singing and was able to come up with a new approach for it. Where a lot of people, we get set on stuff like New Year's resolutions. We say, this is all the stuff that we want to do this year. But sometimes we are so narrowly focused that we don't look at some of the bigger opportunities. Like, Michele, if someone told you before that near fatal accident that you would be singing on the stages with Bob Proctor and similar types of events, like, what would you have thought? I mean, like, was this even remotely in the ballpark of I might do this beforehand?
I didn't know who any of these people were until the night I would meet them at the gig. Bob Proctor even, so no, it wasn't in my periphery at all. Bob Proctor even said to the promoters, I don't want some rock singer singing at my gig. I don't do that. I'm Bob Proctor. I don't need singers. I don't need dancing girls. But after I just did Magnet to Money and I think I Am Energy, and I was going to come back up later. And he came back to the green room and he said, this is it. This is magnificent. I can remember every lyric. This is what I've been teaching my entire life. Affirmations, auto-suggestion, but to do it with music, I've never heard anyone do it like that. He said, I've heard Indian chanting music, but nothing like this with rock music. He said, I want to work with you all over the world. This works. And then he started actually writing lyrics with me as well. So it wasn't in my periphery. If someone had said to me, would you like to go and do that? I would have said, no, why would I do that? That sounds really nerdy. And I'm cool. But it was my purpose. All the experience that I'd had my entire life, entertaining, being able to handle an audience, motivating the audience, doing all the things that I did as a singer, motivating my band to be the best that they could be, all took me to this place so that I can do it for people from all walks of life and all different cultures in a fun and entertaining way where they don't even realize that they are going into a higher vibration. They're going into a higher and higher vibration. They're beginning to see possibilities they could never see before because we have taken them with the music and with all the other visualization and things I do beyond their doubting mind, like that.
And I love these types of stories. It's like how someone becoming a professional athlete, like they become a coach later on, or they become a GM later on, or they become an announcer later on. Like, there's so many different paths you can take. And if you just become, it's not like you have to pursue a ton of different paths. It's just you being open to them, just acknowledging they're there, and then just deciding whether you want to go for them or not. How do you suggest that we continue to accelerate in our careers while at the same time being open to these opportunities, being open to singing for a Bob Proctor event or something like that, where maybe you wouldn't have considered it a while before?
Well, I think the thing is people put too many eggs in too many baskets and they become basket cases. And I think that's the thing. When people are entrepreneurs and they're running their own business, usually it's because they're creative and they love freedom. And so sometimes the things that are challenging to do, they don't want to do. They just want to focus on the things that are creative. Let's do it. Let's do this. And then I've seen so many people that I've, that are actually my students over the years that have just, put your eggs in one basket. So it's still under one umbrella. And once you really get something going and it's becoming successful, then go on to the next thing. What I used to do when I would get so many ideas for a song, I couldn't go and record all of them all at once, would be, I would just have this little book and I would write down any ideas I had. For example, we've just launched these beautiful positive greeting cards called mystical greeting cards. Now, I wrote that I wanted to do that 20 years ago and we've just launched it last year. So, but it was in my ideas book. So I would suggest to people that don't ever listen to anyone else. Don't ask for, criticism from friends or family, particularly if they haven't done it themselves. You don't go to a piano teacher who can't play really good piano. If you have to ask advice and you're not sure what it is that you want, make sure you go to people that are positive, that are going to be there to give you good feedback, that are going to be there to allow you to be open and receptive to the impossible, because everything is possible, but you've got to be smart. You've got to do one thing at a time and finish it. Don't just do something half-assed, and then that's not a curse word in Australia, by the way. And then and then never finish it, or somebody will write a book and then they don't launch it properly, or they don't get it out there to the world. It's just so important to never give up and stay focused in the moment on one thing at a time. And please, people, practice meditation. Do something to slow down that stress or that fire you've got in your belly. You can really, really empower yourself more when you look after your mind.
And you just gotta, as Michele mentions, fully commit. Like, you don't want to stop a book halfway. You don't want to, even if the book launch doesn't turn out the way you want it, because if you stop the book halfway, what else can you stop halfway? So just that idea of finishing, even if you're struggling to get to the finish line, just that idea of finishing really makes a big difference. And when you do surround yourself with people and you hear advice, you really have to filter it, because you're going to have people who they, like, if you want to like run a marathon or something like that, like I know what goes into that because I've done a few of them, but to hear from like a non-marathoner, like it's impossible to run marathons or you got no shot. Like, I know that's not true, because I at one point was not a runner. Like, everybody who has attained any type of success that you aspire towards, they started less than where you are right now. So it's definitely possible. You just have to surround yourself with people, as Michele mentions, who are supportive, who can actually help you, rather than some of the naysayers who are just there to bring you down because they're not happy with where they are in life.
Yeah, and a really good point also, Mark, I feel, is it's really good if you're not an expert in a particular field yet, but you feel magnetized to do that. There's something within your soul, within your heart, that knows, you just know you could do that, even if you've never done it before. Yes, it is very, very good to look at what people have done that are doing it, that have done it very, very successfully. That is important. However, one of the things that I know, I like to think of running a business like a successful rock band, because, okay, there's all these musicians I've met over the years and toured with, Chrissy Hines from the Pretenders, and all these big bands. And I'm not just because I'm name dropping, but I'm just saying the way we would all think was outside of the box, particularly female singers for some reason. We always, because everyone else is just copying what every other band did before them. But I think, I would come up with outrageous things to put on the staging. And I think it's really good, no matter what you're doing, yes, follow the people that have become really successful. But with a rock band, you're not going to follow a rock band that started taking drugs. My band were never allowed to do anything like that. They'd be fired like that. 𝗟𝗘𝗥𝗡, me. So I think that is very, very important. And to allow yourself to really, if you meditate and think about, what else can I do to make this unique to me? I think that really is a good question. And you will be surprised at how many things. Get your pen and paper ready, because so many ideas will come to you when you ask yourself that question.
And I want to go back to something Michele mentioned earlier. You're mentioning writing stuff down on pen and paper. I love that you mentioned the idea book earlier, because Michele took something she thought of 20 years ago and finally applied it. You're only able to do stuff like that if you actually write it down and you actually remember the idea. Something that is a lot harder to do than most people realize. Like, you get the idea in the moment and you're like, I got this, I'm going to remember it. The next day, gone. So make sure you have an idea book. I absolutely love that. I know you mentioned that earlier. Wanted to bring it back to this part of the conversation. One of the things I want to talk about with affirmations is that we're not perfect, in the sense where just because we write it down and we set a deadline doesn't mean we achieve it in that time frame. Now, doing that exercise will lead to more results. You will have more progress. But there's some people who may feel discouraged, especially if you set a New Year's resolution that you set the year prior and you still haven't done it, or something to that effect. How can we still stay strong in the affirmation, especially these long-term ones, when maybe we aren't seeing the immediate payoff?
Well, if we're talking about affirmations, we're using affirmations to help, to assist the mind to go beyond the doubting mind. The goal itself is a totally different thing. That's a goal. You can write it down as if it's already happened and affirm that. But the affirmations are like the support to the building of the goal, so that as the building becomes higher and higher, so does your vibration. And as your vibration becomes faster frequency, well, then what you thought was impossible or difficult becomes doable, because you take tiny little action steps along the way. I'm going to gift something amazing to your audience later that I'll tell you about, that Bob Proctor and I put together to assist people with this very, very challenge. And so listening to the music, what happens is it brings you beyond the doubting mind. So there's like air conditioning, you put it at 70, it'll go off and on, off and on. And so with the affirmations, what happens is it'll take you up to 80, and you'll never go back to 70 again. You might go to 75, but you'll oscillate between 75 and 80 as, you know, as just an example. But whereas if you are doing it on your own without allowing it to go into the doubting mind, because what you said before is true, the short-term memory will just spit it out. That's why it's really good to always have a recorder with you, or just do it onto your iPhone. And that's how all my songs were written, because otherwise I get this great melody, and then if I don't sing it onto the tape straight away, it's spat out, it's gone. And that's the way that Mick Jagger wrote Satisfaction, because he got this idea for the melody in the middle of the night. He had his little cassette recorder there, and he said otherwise he wouldn't have remembered it. Went to see Keith the next day, and they finished it in 3 minutes. But anyway, it's important that you can go beyond your air-conditioned mind and just keep going. Listen to the music, do visualization. You've got to get yourself beyond the doubting mind first, because if you take action and you're not there yet, you're going to go backwards.
I love that analogy, because it's like once you set it a little bit higher, you don't want to go back down. Like I'm going to go back to running again because that's just my MO. When you hit like a certain mileage pace and you get comfortable there, you don't want to stay uncomfortable. You want to push yourself a little bit more so that your comfort expands, in the sense where you can run faster and feel more comfortable. And if you connect that with your business, if you connect that with any goal, you will feel more comfortable while producing a greater output. And your like okay or off day a year from now might be today's fantastic day in terms of output or performance. So I really love that idea. I would also like to expand on the doubtful mind. I know you mentioned that, Michele, because if you have the doubtful mind, it hurts your ability to do affirmations, which hurts the foundation for being able to achieve your big goals. What are some quick ways that, like some doubtful minds, like it takes time. It's a long healing process for some people. But what are some ways we get some quick wins on the road to a confident mind?
Well, I think first of all, it can be done quickly because I've seen it. These little simple affirmation songs really work fast. I've seen people achieve great things. And I also love, okay, some people are very, very damaged from past results in their life or relationships or something, or someone always putting them down. And that's a little different. Some people are actually psychologically damaged, and they may need therapy to start with to assist them to feel better about themselves and more confident. But I think the thing is to write down what it is that you love about yourself, that you really, really know within yourself is something that is good about yourself, so that you can start building up self-esteem. And I'm not talking about ego self-love. I'm talking about, well, I love the fact that I do feel compassion for people when I see them suffering. I love the fact that I give to the Salvation Army. I love the fact that I'm a very loving husband or boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever it is. Start writing down some things and find out what it is that really makes you tick. What is it that you really want? Not what other people think you want, but what is it that you want? If you start getting clarity, you do go beyond the doubting mind, because of the fact that you are thinking about the possibilities of something. And you can say to yourself, okay, every time you hear yourself complain, another thing, every time you hear yourself complain, that is fear coming up. it's hiding itself in the form of judging others or complaining about someone else because it doesn't want to look at itself, what is wrong in your own life, not taking responsibility. So I recommend you immediately stop and say, I'm complaining. Aha, that means I'm in fear. Okay, let me find out what I'm afraid of first. Am I afraid of losing something that I've got that I love? Or am I afraid of not getting something that I really want? And then you get all constipated and using your willpower. Chill, just chill and find out what it is you're afraid of. Because once you find out what you're afraid of, you'll go beyond the doubting mind and you'll realize, well, that may never happen.
I mean, it's amazing how people worry about things that just may never come to pass, or they act like the worst case scenario is just a foregone conclusion. And if you just pause each time you have a negative thought or a fear, like just tackle that a little bit, get to the root cause, because once you get that understanding, the threat becomes a lot less dangerous. And Breakthrough Success listeners, I'm going to ask you guys all, guys and ladies and everyone, I'm going to ask you all a question right now, because Michele mentioned a very important question that we cannot overlook. And that question is, what do you love about yourself? That is something where you should genuinely pause this episode right now, write some things you love about yourself. Do it like every single day in like some type of gratitude journal, because one of the biggest things when it comes to staying true to your affirmations, achieving your big goals, is this sense of self-love or self-worth or whatever you want to call it. But just this idea where if someone asks, like, what do you love about yourself? You're able to so confidently and quickly come up with a bunch of different explanations, which Michele was able to do for us. So Breakthrough Success listeners, normally I ask the guest questions, and we've done that so far. I think we've done pretty well. But the question for you guys, what do you love about yourself? Pause this episode if you have to, jot down some thoughts, and maybe even turn this into a daily exercise. Another thing you should do for a daily exercise, listen to Michele's affirmation music. We heard her sing very briefly, and I thought, let's just turn this to a concert instead of an interview. But we got the interview instead. You get the concert version by listening to her music. So Michele, where can we go to listen to your songs and follow all of the great work that you're doing?
Well, you can go to MICHELE, spelled with one L, Blood, BLOOD. It's a real name. My daddy, his name is Lance Blood. It's an Irish name. You can go to iTunes and you can find everything. And that way you can have a little listen to every snippet. Or you can go to Amazon. I mean, my music's all over the world. Or you can go to YouTube /Michele Blood and just listen to some for free. We've got a new app coming out soon called Magnet to Money. It'll give you a little reminder so you keep feeding your subconscious mind. Our main website is Magnet to Success, but I've got something to give away, a lot of things to give away for absolutely free to your beautiful people.
Can't turn away free. Free is a beautiful thing.
Free is good. And what it is if they go to mydivinesuccess.com/breakthrough, you're going to get some of my favorite and best-selling products, including the Magic of Affirmation Power book. You're going to get my magnetic creative visualization audio program, which is very powerful. Something I did with Bob Proctor called the turbocharged goal setting and daily action planner, which has the action song. The first song I ever did for Bob, actually for one of his programs. And that really assists you. It breaks down everything. You have the action music to listen to every day. And then you have your daily, the night before, you write down your action steps for the next day. It really gets you clear on what action steps are and what goals are. And 3 of my best-selling positive affirmation songs. And for those who want this, Bob Proctor and I did this fun, awesome song and audio program called Be Your Perfect Weight. I am now at my perfect weight, looking good and feeling great. You don't want to say you're losing weight. You want to say you're releasing it and affirming what you want. That has helped a lot of people. And you're going to get all of that for free.
Breakthrough Success listeners, that is a lot of amazing resources. Remember, Michelle's got one L in her name. We will have links in the show notes as well, so you could get all those great resources. Michele, thank you for joining us on Breakthrough Success today. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
Marc, you're awesome. Thank you so much for what you're doing.